Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday. It is. How is everyone doing? I wanted to hop on and do a reading from the journal Light. It has been a second since I have done a reading from this publication. I used to do I have done quite a few of them, but it's been a second, and you can just find so many wonderful stories in here. And I thought, you know what, I want to hop on and read one of these. Okay, so this is the journal Light. It is it was a publication when, I'm not sure how long it ran, but it says here, a journal devoted to the highest interests of humanity, both here and hereafter. Let me see if I can find like some information about it real quick, to see more about it here. It was founded in 1881. It looks like by the Spiritualist Alliance. And let's see, it continued for a number of years. When, though? Does it tell me? I don't know. It just says published since 1881. But I don't think it's still in publication. Anyways, I thought it would be fun to hop on here and read a little entry about a fun seance that I found. So it is the journal Light, subtitled The Journal of Psychical, Occult, and Mystical Research. And you can find this openly. You can find entire publications, runs of it on, you can Google it and just get to literally the International Association of, oh gosh, who are they? There are numerous websites, is what I'm trying to say, and failing to say. But let's see here. The International Association for the Preservation of Spiritualist and Occult Periodicals has entire, like, I mean, they have, let's see here. It looks like they have, my gosh, from the very beginning, 1881, all the way to 1953. They have the editions just available freely and openly on the website. So basically, if you're curious about finding it, just Google Light, a journal of psychical occult research. Those keywords will get you to this website. You can also find it on multiple other websites, like through Hothy Trust. I've talked about Hothy Trust plenty of times here before. And you can also find this periodical through the Internet Archive. So it looks like, is it still potentially in publication? Or it looks like it was at least even up until the 70s. I don't know, maybe it still is in publication. Anyways, the edition that I am reading to you from, however, is the edition that was published Saturday, November 19th of 1881. So this is from the very first year of their the very first year of their publication, specifically the November 19th, 1881 edition. And there is an article in here that is fun and entertaining, and interesting and curious and weird. And it is titled Passage of Matter Through Matter. So that's kind of wild. Yeah, it's been like, it's good to be back here, like in the office doing these, in the office here at the library. It's after my shift, of course, but, started doing these spooky story times here, like from my office right here, and it's definitely been a second since I've been live here, but yeah, here we go. Let's get into it. This is titled Passage of Matter Through Matter, and it begins. The wonderful phenomenon of the passage of matter through matter is exhibited in many forms in the presence of strong physical mediums. It occurred at every seance of the Davenports when their coats were taken off and other coats put on, while their hands were securely tied behind them and fastened to the rung of a chair. This is fascinating. So also, just a little, you guys probably know this, but they're talking about physical mediums here. So there were different types of mediums. Physical mediums who would make certain things like this happen, like the taking on and off of, coats, and it could also be like the levitation of objects and like the rapping noises and apported phenomena or apported objects rather. And then you've got the mental mediums who would, when they were talking about mental mediumship, at this time period in the 1880s, they were probably talking about people who did things like automatic writing, or who had like spirit controls, who, would that would be where they would claim to get their information psychically. So in this case, we're talking about a physical medium here. Okay. So it occurred at every seance of the Davenports when their coats were taken off and other coats put on, while their hands were securely tied behind them and fastened to the rung of a chair. Sometimes their waistcoats would be taken off, still buttoned, from underneath the coat, while their hands were tied. What? In Dale Owens's Footfalls, this must be a publication, is mentioned a case of a haunting in Scotland when articles put in a cupboard would the next moment come tumbling down the chimney, although there was no communication between them. That's wild. The threading of a chair around the arm when the hands are united, or placing a solid iron ring around the wrist, is a common occurrence. I once saw this phenomenon take place in the light, the medium being Mr. Hearn. If you want to look him up, that is spelled Herne. Abundant as is the testimony to the fact, there are skeptical spiritualists who say that it has never been satisfactorily demonstrated. I love I love all types of mediumship, and I love all the reports and accounts and writings about it. And I also really want there's people out there who do, like my friend Jared, who I just did a podcast episode with for his new podcast, Learning to Be Liminal, is a stage magician. And I'm like, sometimes I read these things and I'm just like, I want to get his take on it. But let's continue. Abundant as is the testimony to the fact, there are skeptical spiritualists who say that it has never been satisfactorily demonstrated. Mr. Hudson Tuttle is, I believe, one of these. That's a great name. While residing in Boston, I had an experience of the kind which I consider as remarkable as any I ever heard of. An account was published at the time in the Boston Herald and New York Sun and other papers, but I think it will not be amiss briefly to state the particulars again here. Okay, here we go. Soon after Mr. Morse and myself arrived in Boston, we were invited to attend a seance of Mrs. Thayer, that is Thayer, if you want to look her up, who is known as the flower medium. I love this. Known as such because flowers would apport into the seance room when she was when she was there during her seances. So an apport being those things that mysteriously appear with seemingly no explanation for their appearance. So, okay, we were invited to attend a seance of Mrs. Thayer's, who is known as the flower medium. We did so, and after a great number of beautiful flowers were produced, Mr. Morse found a pigeon in front of him. Oh my God, the filter is doing something so bizarre. What? I mean, I know this is just a filter, and like it does this weird, like, it's kind of weird though to like, I don't know, the topic, given like the topic and the thing that I'm like reading about. Because I feel like I've never seen it like glitch that badly. Anyways, how cool if it had like taken like, what if it had like taken the form or like the shape of a flower? That would be so weird. Okay. Mrs. Thayer, who's known as the flower medium. We did so, and after a great number of beautiful flowers were produced, Mr. Morse found a pigeon in front of him. This is so wild. Just like the things that would happen in the seance room, and like I know there's ways of like doing all of these things in the seance room by sleight of hand, and you know, a different type of magic, if you will. But I'm also just like, I'm just always going to be Fox Mulder too. And like, I'm always going to want to believe, you know. And also I'm just like reading these accounts. I'm like, how whimsical and fun would it be? Like, I don't even care. I don't even care if like I fully caught like the person, like, I don't know, with like their pigeon handler outside, like talking about how they were going to do this. Like, I just think that sounds like a fun night. Like, sure, let's go have a nice dinner. And then we're going to like dim the lights or turn them off, and we're going to have a seance, and flowers and pigeons are going to appear in the room, and it's going to be weird. Like, fine, you know what? Like, entertain me with some magic. Like, threaten me with a good time. Okay, listen to this. Mr. Morse found a pigeon in front of him. We attended a second seance, on which occasion both Mr. Morse and myself were the recipients of a beautiful white fantail pigeon. The way that's written, though, kind of like, were you gifted the pigeon? Like, are you responsible for it? Soon after this, I attended a test seance at the Banner of Light premises, when Mrs. Thayer was placed in a muslin bag, and in a few minutes I had another fine bird placed in my hand, which Mr. Morse brought with him to England, and which he exhibited at a meeting of the BNAS. I'm not exactly sure, like the BN... something, probably is, I'm not entirely sure what that is. Some organization that he brought it to. Can you imagine though? These dudes like go to a seance and a pigeon appears, and he's like, this is a weird pigeon. This pigeon is evidence of the weirdness of the seance. So he literally takes it with him to England and like exhibits the pigeon. I love this. After these events, I frequently attended Mrs. Thayer's seances and had every opportunity of satisfying myself of the genuineness of the phenomena. At length, it occurred to me that if spirits could bring flowers into a closed room in which there was no opening whatsoever, they might go a step further and introduce them into a locked box. Accordingly, I asked Mrs. Thayer if she thought this could be done. She said she didn't know, but if I liked to get a box, she had no objection to try. I love it. Hereupon, I procured a box at a grocery store. It was an ordinary packing box, a little over a foot in dimension on all sides, and made of 3/4 deal, I don't know what that means, tightly nailed together. Okay, this gives us a rough idea of it, right? To obviate the necessity of opening the box, I had a small square of glass let in from the underside of the lid and securely fixed so that when the box was locked, it was impossible to remove it. Okay, so is you're trying to make like basically just trying to, make efforts to have it sort of be foolproof, right? Okay, securely fixed so that when the box was locked, it was impossible to remove it. Okay. I just lost my spot. No, I found it. Okay. About a dozen persons were invited to witness the experiment, which was the first of the kind, so far as I knew, ever attempted. After a due inspection of the box was made by the company, I locked it with a padlock, which I bought for this purpose, the key of which had never been out of my possession. In addition to this, I stuck a piece of gummed paper from the top to the side, affixing a seal at either end. Okay, so he just put some tape over the opening, the seals, so that if it's open, the tape should be broken, right? As the light was about to be put out, Mrs. Thayer said she had left the handkerchief at home, which she places on her head during the manifestations to protect her, as she says, from the electrical influences that prevail. What? Hereupon, a gentleman took from his wallet a packet of paper handkerchiefs and offered her one. Mrs. Thayer said that it was of no use because it wasn't silk, and it was left lying on the table. The light was then turned out, and we commenced singing. Singing at the seance? I love it. This is good. What did they sing? I want to know. What do you sing at a seance? After continuing for some little time, it was suggested that we should look at the box and see whether anything had taken place. On looking through the glass, something was seen which was supposed to be flowers, but on opening the box, it proved to be the handkerchief that had been left lying on the table, the pink pattern on it having been mistaken for flowers. What? This encouraged us to make another trial, and a party of 8 met about a week later for the purpose, General Roberts, the editor of Mind and Matter, being of the party. The box was fixed in the same way as before, and all present were satisfied that it had nothing in it except the handkerchief that had been introduced at the previous seance. The light having been extinguished, we commenced singing. Once again, what do you sing? What would you sing at your seance? If you had a seance today, I'm not going to lie, I'd be really tempted to sing Bees in the Trap. Okay, let's just continue. The light having been extinguished, we commenced singing and continued doing so for about 10 minutes when a succession of loud, quick raps was heard on the box, and I said, "Shall we sing again?" Valerie, look, I know you would pick something good to sing. I know it. And I said, "Shall we sing again?" 3 distinct raps were given. We sang again, and soon a Spotify seance list. Yes, do it. And then one day, we will pick from it, and we will sing it at the seance. Look, it's just called we're just doing it for history. It's called historical research, okay? And I said, "Shall we sing again?" 3 distinct raps were given, so we sang again, and soon afterwards felt a very decidedly cool wind pervading the room, which was very noticeable, and as it was an extremely hot afternoon. Oh, okay. A loud crash was then heard as if the box was broken to pieces. A light was produced, and on examination, the box was found in perfect condition, with the seal intact, and inside were observed several flowers and other objects, a list of which afterwards was made and is as follows: 4 tiger lilies, 3 roses, white, pink, and yellow, a gladiolus, a piece of fern, and several small flowers. Also a copy of the Banner of Light and the Voice of Angels, and a photograph of Mr. Colby. What? The flowers were all quite perfect and appeared to be freshly gathered, and the papers were folded as if for sale. After the box manifestation, a large number of fine scarlet roses appeared on the table, and the largest was stuck in the hair of the medium. What? Flowers came in the same way at the previous seance. On each occasion, a paper was drawn up certifying the fact, which was signed unhesitatingly by everyone present. In fact, nothing could have been more satisfactory or conclusive. Colonel Olcott, coming to Boston about the time, expressed a wish to witness a seance with the box. He did so and affixed a seal, uniting the lid with the side and impressing it with his signet ring. In a few minutes, the box was found half full of flowers, amongst which was a piece of twine about a yard long, and the colonel was perfectly satisfied. Oh, hello, hello. And that is signed Robert Cooper, Eastbourne, November 14th, 1881. And that is the end of the article. About the seance with Mrs. Thayer, the flower medium. I feel like that the part in the seance where they heard like sort of like a loud crashing and then they turned on the lights and they found the box and it was perfect. I'm kind of like, okay, well, somebody like swapped out boxes, right? Like they swapped out a new box, with like the similar like seal and everything. But it is at the end where like this colonel dude affixed a seal and impressed it with wax using his signet ring. That one's a little trickier to me. Like how did that happen? I don't know. Anyways, it's just fun to read. I mean, I have no answers. I mean, look, I think we all know the vast majority of it was, sleight of hand and trickery. But I think that there's always like there's like these little nuggets, I feel like, where there's like these genuinely unexplainable moments, right? And I just keep thinking of the case of Eusapia Palladino, like the famous or perhaps infamous Italian medium who was like orphaned at the age of like, I don't know, 12 or 11 or 12 or something like that. And from like a biography that I read about her, it had mentioned that like strange phenomena always seemed to just follow her, even in childhood, like it was just known that she had abilities. So then she becomes tragically orphaned, like at a really young age. And everybody in the little town knew about her and knew of her abilities. And so there was a couple in town who were like, hey, we'll take you in, which seems kind and gracious, right? But their offer came with a condition. They said, we will take you in, but we'll only take you in if you perform for us, which is really gross. And she was also like a child, So it's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like, so here's this instance of like, she literally is just like, she's a child just trying to like literally survive. So what is she going to do? Of course she's going to perform. Like what other choice did she have, right? So even if she did have some sort of like genuine strange ability, which I want to believe. I think it was also combined with the fact that she was an orphaned child trying to survive. And then, of course, it just became a way of life for her and how she lived, you know what I mean? So I think that if she had any sort of abilities, like she turned them into her, her way of life. And so I think it makes sense that to me that and Eusapia was one of them that like there are multiple accounts of just like outright catching her in the act of like people catching on to how she did something, but there are also reports of really strange phenomena being like, I have no idea how she made a watermelon levitate over the head of this person in the seance room, which was an account that I read about. I don't know. Weird stuff. Look, we should like just bring seances back, I don't, like I said, I don't even care if they're like, if it's just a magic show, bring it back, I want to have like apported roses like put in my hair as we're all like seated around a table, like singing. I don't know. This sounds like a good time to me. Anyways, right, Mallory? Right? It just sounds fun. Anyways, so again, this is from the November 19th, 1881 edition of the Journal Light. Yes, with our Seance Spotify playlist. You would make the best playlist. Like I am. The pigeon appearing. Yes, the pigeon. So not only did Mrs. Thayer, she was known as the flower medium, but birds would also appear. Specifically, pigeons would appear during her seance. So, and apparently this was a time, I guess, before the pigeons were, it seems like everybody hates pigeons. I don't know. Do you guys ever get that sense? Like, it just seems like nobody really talks positively about them, which is kind of like sad. But anyways, like it says here, we were the recipients of a beautiful white fantail pigeon. How could you not hear the birds before they appear? Oh, Mallory's asking the real questions here. You are asking the right questions. That's a good point. That is a good point. Like how, I don't know. It's her magic. It's Mrs. Thayer, the flower medium. It's her magic. She had I don't know, she was a pigeon whisperer, I guess. Where did she hide it? See? I don't know. And then like can't you guys pick up on the account here in one seance where they literally put her, like Mrs. Thayer, like in like her entire person, they literally put her in a muslin bag. Like they put her wholly in a gigantic bag. What? People would like do those sorts of things though with mediums, especially physical mediums, like Mrs. Thayer. They would often, often restrain their hands and their legs. Oftentimes those restraints would be illuminated so that if, even though you might check, that their hands and feet were secured to like the table and the chair beforehand, as soon as you turned out the lights, you might not know what they're doing. So often those restraints would be illuminated. The idea being that like, well, if you're moving your hands and feet, then those things are illuminated and we'll see what you're doing, right? But apparently they would also just straight up put the mediums in a gigantic bag. Oh, anyways, who knows? Magic makes me think. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I am like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. You know what I mean? And go to a seance. There used to be so much more whimsy in this world. And now nobody's going to seances and like getting pigeons and roses. What is this world coming to? Anyways, that's not even the weirdest thing I've said today. Not even the weirdest thing that I've said today. But yeah, so this is, again, the Journal Light, the November 19th, 1881 edition. I am accessing it. If you want to find more, all you need to do is just Google Light, Journal of Psychical, Occult, and just even those words, Light, Journal, Psychical, Occult. That'll get you to any number of websites where you can access entire editions. It'll get you to the website of the International Association for the Preservation of Spiritualist and Occult Periodicals, which have, among their archives, they have a tab on their website titled Archives. Hey! Oh my gosh. They have a tab on their website titled Archives. And if you go to it, there are hundreds of periodicals, one of them being Light, which I just read to you from. But there are like so many. Like there's one called The All-Seeing Eye. What is that about? There's one called Ancient Wisdom. There's one called the Anti-Mesmerist. Oh, so it looks like there's also some like all sorts of perspectives here. The Banner of Light, the Banner of Progress that were mentioned in the, what is this All-Seeing Eye about? Let me click on this. What is this publication about? The All-Seeing Eye, a monthly magazine devoted to the search for those fundamental verities existing in, okay, whatever. Gigantic, pretentious subtitle. That's okay. So, you know, these old publications had those. The All-Seeing Eye was a monthly magazine published from 1923 to 1931 by the editor Manly Hall, who was a Canadian. So also the website tells you a little bit about these publications, which is pretty cool. So apparently this dude moved to LA in his teens and got involved in Californian occultism, spiritualism, and New Thought. What? Anyways, so then he created this journal. And I don't know, I've never read through it. But if you go to the website, you can get all sorts of things, all sorts of publications, and there's just PDFs, just like freely and openly, and just all sorts of things, all sorts of journals, and one of them just happens to be Light, a journal of psychical, occult, and mystical phenomena. And there's just really awesome entries and like cases in Light, and you should go check it out. You should go check it out. So yeah, I don't know who the International Association for the Preservation of Spiritualist and Occult Periodicals. That just sounds really cool. Let's read about them. Who are they? It was formed in late 2009. Oh, okay. When it looks like the founders were worried that spiritualist and occult periodicals were in many cases being removed from collections in libraries. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that, I mean, libraries don't have like agendas like that. I mean, sometimes things get weeded for like other reasons, like usage, or, you know, maybe it's not part of the scope of the collection anymore, or condition, or whatever. Oh, here they say the deterioration of the primary historical source material. And so I guess it was just this group formed to like create this digital archive. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, it looks like the scope is primarily periodicals from between the 1840s and the start of the Second World War. Anyways, yeah, there's a whole bunch of, like, there's hundreds and hundreds of these publications digitally like archived on this website. So if you enjoyed the article that I just read about Mrs. Thayer, the flower medium, and her seances with roses and pigeons, then you should absolutely go to this website and check them out. So if you just recently joined us, I read an article from the November 19th, 1881 edition of the journal Light about the strange activity at the seances of Mrs. Thayer, known as the flower medium. And that's that. That's what I wanted to share with you all tonight. So I hope you enjoyed that. And this is a bit of a short one tonight, but that's okay. There will be more of these. And yeah, if you just Google Light, a Journal of Psychical and Occult, you will find it, and you will find many others. So yeah, give it a look. And I hope you all have a good Wednesday evening, and I will catch you next time. Bye.